Yo, this is your first time here, welcome. Been here before, welcome back. This video, I'm going to be running over my review of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The reason it's a bit late is because it's the longest game that's ever existed in the history of games ever. Untrue, but it did take me roughly about 100 hours to get through as much as I would consider completed. Not 100%, but completed as far as where I'm probably going to stop playing it now. First time I've done this kind of video on the channel, so if you do like it, hit that like button. Don't forget to press the sub button. We're on 430 now, road to 500. Thanks so much for the support. It means a lot to me if you could press that sub button as always. Leave a comment if you do want to talk about the game at all. I'll get back to all my comments. Without any further ado, let's get into it. So let's do the short version. If you can get past the falling off the horse, the randomly dying, stupid crowds of NPCs, the lips not moving when you talk, the list is endless of glitches, bugs and things to be pissed about. If you can get past all that, what a beautiful game. And I can. I got past it because, a backstory, this had been one of my most anticipated games ever. I've been waiting on this for so long. I'm not a huge, massive fan of the Assassin's Creed Assassin's Creed series, I suppose. I'm not a massive fan, but I have played all the games, mostly as like Ezio and whoever else. I've played a lot of them, but I kind of skipped the last couple because they got a bit samey and a bit shitty. But basically this was the closest thing to a Viking RPG that I was going to get for a long time, so I'd been massively waiting for it, massively anticipating it to come out. I love everything about Norse mythology, everything about Vikings. It's a really an interesting time for me to be interested in. I've always loved that kind of stuff, so it was just a perfect game for me. So I played this more as a Viking RPG rather than the next game in the Assassin's Creed series. But as much as it's buggy like any of the other ones, honestly probably one of my favourite games I've ever played, all issues aside. So I'm just going to go through the storyline and the missions, some stuff about the combat, some stuff about the map. I'm going to try my best to give no spoilers, but I can make no promises. I'll be playing some clips in the background and there will be maybe some audio. I'll try and not spoil anything, but if you're very desperate to get no spoilers at all, I would probably not watch the video as much as I would like you to watch it, but I'll try my very level best. So first of all, the storyline and the missions. The storyline follows our main character Eivor as he travels from Norway to England after the time of Ragnar Lothbrok and the people in Vikings and Uba and whoever else who all do play a part in it, apart from Ragnar, who's obviously dead at this point. And Eivor's plan to, I guess, conquer England, I suppose. That's kind of how it works. You go from shire to shire and each one has its own kind of set of missions, and it's a really cool kind of thing while building your settlement up, bringing back supplies to add things to it, meeting new characters overall. The storyline I thought was really good up until kind of 70% of the way through, where it just got a little bit boring. It was kind of the same thing and it was really dragged out. It was so long. 8 odd hours gameplay in the main storyline and then another 15 on side quests, and I got to a pretty large level of completion. You go from being kind of underpowered and not be able to do anything to mega overpowered in the space of like, I don't know, a couple of hours. So that was a bit tricky, but yeah, the main storyline, I'd say it's long, but it's good. I'd be moaning if it was shorter, so I'm really glad that it was that length, but man, does it take it out of you try to complete that thing. If you're a kind of part-time fair weather gamer that maybe puts an hour in here or there, you're gonna struggle with this, or maybe not struggle, it's going to take you a very long time. Content in the missions was cool. There was so much going on. It was one of the biggest games I've ever played as far as mission content goes. So much to do, so hard to do everything all at the same time. Very ambitious, but very well executed as well. So the storyline and the missions, I'm going to give probably the best part of the game to this about. Next one is the map and the environment. One of the most beautiful games I've ever played. So stunning. Everything about it, the viewpoints, the area, the graphics, everything about it was so beautiful. And I've never seen places like that look like that in England, but man, that was a beautiful game. It kind of matched some of the other games that I've played, considering how massively vast it was. Nothing looked ridiculously similar. Each area had its own kind of quirks and its own set of characteristics, and I really thought that was such a nice touch to the game. Everything about it was beautiful. The water, the clouds, depending on how you had your graphics set up, everything just looked absolutely gorgeous. My favourite place on the entire map was in Jorvik. It was just the nicest, cool looking place. It was really snowy, kind of Christmassy, all that kind of stuff. It looked class. There's some gameplay playing here from that bit, and I just thought it was one of the coolest looking places. Nice to just walk about. There was so much going on. Every little detail of it was so bang on. It was class. But everywhere in general, I never explored the whole thing. There was a massive bit at the top of Hadrian's Wall that was so long, I randomly found it halfway through the game or something, and it's just really weird that there's so much map that hasn't got any sort of missions or storyline behind it, and I feel like it's a little bit of a missed trick unless they're going to use it for DLC, but we'll see. Because also Stonehenge is there, and none of the main storyline missions took you through Stonehenge, which I thought was an odd one when it's quite a big big well-known landmark. Maybe I'm wrong and I missed this section. Unsure. Next one is the characters. The characters in this I thought were good. I liked the kind of Ranvi, Eivor, Sigurd storyline. It was a kind of, you know, love tale of crossed lovers and all that kind of stuff going on, which was quite cool. And you really learn to like Eivor. Becomes a cool character towards the end. You really connect with him and Ranvi. And I did think though that a few of the characters that they wanted you to build a lot of rapport with, when a couple of them die later on in the game, you haven't really managed to develop a relationship for them or with them. And, you know, I didn't really care that they died too much, which I thought was an odd one. But there were a lot of characters that I kind of thought were really cool. And most of the Saxons, their characters were pretty shitty. Some of them were portrayed alright, but a lot of the Danish characters and the Norse characters, I thought they were spot on and very, very good. One of my favourites being Gunnar the blacksmith. He was a fun one. And you get a bit later on where he goes to get married to this Bridget woman who you can't understand. And that's just a fun kind of bit of storyline, which is quite cool because he was one of my favourite characters. So the characters, yep, they were spot on. Bang on. Combat and the enemies. The combat was... combat. Kind of, you could hack and slash your way through any of this stuff. I didn't really see the point in using more than one weapons. For the first half of the game, I used these little knives. I think it was one dagger. And in the second half, I switched between a big axe and a big sword. And it kind of got to the point where you find a few moves that just work all the time. So I found pressing the X button, you would dodge. If you just consistently dodged, you could just stay away from enemies all the time. And then there was this ability halfway through when you unlock that when you move, it slows down time. And it made it a little bit too easy, because even when I was playing on hard, it still made it a little bit too easy to kill enemies in the later stages of the game, and I thought that could have been done. However, some of the execution stuff was amazing at the start, and then it just gets a bit boring. I think if you're going to play this and haven't already and plan to, I would change your weapons more often and just get them all leveled up pretty quickly. It's probably the best way to make it the most exciting, because you only have 5 or 6 maybe executions total, depending on the different enemies that you face, and they change per weapon. So if you swap the weapons, you get more variety to the way that you kill them. But combat was easy enough, nothing too difficult, especially if you've got it on the harder difficulties as well. Enemies, the variety was pretty cool. There was some ones at the start that really start to annoy you, like the pikemen and the standard bearer, and that they all are really, really annoying at the start. But later on you learn to deal with them, and some of the kind of boss fights were interesting. Not so hard, kind of easy. The one main thing that got me was the zealots are meant to be the hardest things to fight in the game. I found this one glitch is playing now that if you stayed on a horse, you could just kick them to death and they couldn't hit you off your horse, which I thought was a bit strange and probably something that wants to be looked at. But it would take an extremely long time if you did it the whole way, but it is a way if you are underpowered and want to kill them and get a big skill boost, I suppose. Personalization. I thought this was an interesting one. So I never used my boat to go anywhere really, apart from at the start when I was forced to. So I never ended up doing anything to it. I think I unlocked like some parts for it where I did do it up, but I never got into the boat. The horse I never changed. I used the same horse from the start. And personalization was a little bit meh. I found that I used like the same 2 sets of armor for the entire thing because I didn't find any, or I didn't come across it. And I don't know if that was just me and the way I played the game, but I thought there could have been a lot more done with that. And you kind of get like 4 or 5 hairstyles, I suppose, that says that there are more, but I thought that there was a lot more scope for there to be a lot more personalization in the game in general. There isn't a huge amount. You can add some tattoos, you can do some stuff to your hair, you can do some stuff to armor and weapons, but in general, it was alright. Could do better though. Issues. I mean, I had this down as one because there was a huge raft of them that spanned from falling off your horse to dying, though you'll see some falling in the back here, to invisible walls I couldn't run through with your horse, to, I mean, the crashing in the game was mental. I think it would crash at least once every session by the time I got closer to the end game, which was really weird. It would just crash. Luckily the autosave was pretty decent, but it did crash a ton. Uninstalled and reinstalled, no help, it's still done exactly the same thing. Hey, happens I guess. But some of the glitches were just downright funny, and the biggest one was that there was basically in just about every second cutscene, the mouse didn't move when the people were speaking, which I thought was pretty strange, but it's a known bug to Ubisoft. They've said that it will be in patch notes, it just isn't there yet, so hopefully that gets fixed. It wasn't too big a bummer, you can still see the subtitles and hear them speaking, so it was kind of cool. But the vast array of glitches is just beyond a joke. I'm hoping that this gets patched over time. I don't know how much I'll be going back to play it. I might do another full playthrough, we'll see. But yeah, so overall, I mean, still one of my favourite games of all time now. It was destined to be that because it was going to be about Vikings, but I loved it. I thought everything was great, and if you're thinking about buying it or want to play it, then it's definitely worth a playthrough, that's for sure, if you've got a spare 100 hours. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it if you have played it, or if you are planning on buying it. Don't forget to drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and also click that sub button if you did make it this far. Well done to you. And if you enjoy this type of content, let me know any other games you'd like to see me review. Be happy to do it. This was a fun one. But until then, see you in the next one.
Farewell. May you continue to make merry harmonies. Smack my bishop! Smack my bishop!